Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Clayton from Roseanne, and I want to welcome to this little special episode. Here I'm joined by Christian Davis, and we're going to be talking about all things email marketing. I wanted to bring Christian on here because he's got to be literally one of the top email slash SMS slash marketers in the world. Has some of the the biggest clients in the info space, and he's been helping people crush for a number of years. So yeah, I'm very excited to have you on here, dude. Thank you for coming on doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is really fun. I just live, eat, and breathe this. For anybody that doesn't know, my name is Christian Davis or Christian, the copywriter on socials. I have a little company with me and a few people, and we do email marketing and SMS marketing, and it's called Emails and SMS. And yeah, so there are a bunch of like pitfalls I see people making along the journey. And a lot of it comes down to like tech and strategy behind emails and SMSs. So you can have like A-list copy. Like I have screenshots on screenshots. One of my better ones, the more recent ones, was Layla Hermosi saying that she like reads 100% of my emails and she loves them and reads them every day. So being an A-list copywriter is like very simple and formulaic. Like the tech and strategy, a little bit less. It's more like cutting edge and like testing and seeing what's working. And You can only test and see what's working on large accounts. And when you do it, like the opportunity cost is insanely high. So to have someone to come in who's walked the path before and to lead you to milking it for every last little penny, then it's extremely valuable. So
Yeah, dude. I saw that screenshot that you had. I'm gonna try to bring it up, put it on the screen from Layla. I was like, yo, that's like a sick testimonial to have. Like when I say that Christian works on some of the biggest accounts, it wasn't a joke. Why don't you tell us a little bit about like who are typical clients for you? Like who's the best type of client for you? What type of situations do people fall in when they go, hey, I really need to either, have somebody better do this, or what is your like kind of perfect client?
yeah, so an ideal client is someone at least making seven figures a year and they're a high ticket coach or ecom brand. I definitely prefer to work with high ticket coaches just because it's like way funner, but I do have a lot of seven figure wins in ecom as well. And Yeah, the funnels are set up differently, but usually they have an email person already sending their emails, but it's either in-house or a freelancer, and they're just not 100% sure that they're doing the best job they possibly can. And then so they usually come to me and they're like, hey, why am I only sending to 300K people out of 4 mil? And like I've hired the best people in the world. Some of the top people in the space, like crushing nine figures, have come to me and they found me just through word of mouth. And they're like, hey, we've hired the best people in the world. We can't crack this. And it's actually very simple and formulaic. So I'd be happy to share some of that on a call today. But basically, it all boils down to my 17-step email profit formula, which a 2.53x a nine-figure client's like revenue per contact. And it's just a simple checklist that you implement. As long as you've like done it before with across like multiple niches and verticals and tested across large audiences, like 100K plus, then I feel confident like bringing it to the table, like for a new client. So preferably a client and that's cranking numbers so I can have something to bite onto.
Yeah, so if you're already sending in like a bunch of emails, but you think you could probably take it to the next level and you have like a good business, what would you say was like a minimum that people are doing like revenue wise or email contacts wise, do you think would be a good fit for you?
Yeah, so mid six figures a year and 20,000 for the email list is like the minimum. And that's for high ticket. Like for ecom,
Yeah.
it needs to be much higher. Unless they have like just an insanely raving audience. Like I've had lists down to 6,000. I've had lists up to 4 mil and like not just one. I'm not talking about one client, but multiple in the millions. So
Well, you said you have this like trademarked 17 step thing that you do. It's pretty sick. But maybe you could share a little bit about like when a client is like, all right, let's do this. What does that kind of look like? What do you actually do? Yeah. What does that look like?
I also offer these free sessions. So if anybody wants to book a call with me, I'd be happy to like open up your back end with you and then see which of these 17 steps needs to be applied first and like how much you could potentially make from it and like some percentages that I have with other clients so we can gauge what we're working with here. Yeah, so the biggest thing I see, especially with high ticket coaches, is application and book a call abandon sequences. So like usually you'll have like a abandoned cart or like a browse abandon that's like one email. And if it's an abandoned cart, then it's a few, but you don't have it based off of steps. So like here's the application. did you fill out the application yet? And have like a bunch of emails, and they're super highly targeted. And they also walk the prospect through the entire sales cycle. And I prefer to use Russell Brunson's perfect webinar formula as far as sales cycles go, but there's a few frameworks out there. I've created my own based off of like a bunch that I've read online, including Alice Sultanich's dual sequencing method. That's what helped me win the Alex Hormozy competition, the affiliate competition for $100 million leads by 30% last year, absolutely crushing everyone else in the world. But anyway, that's a
That's
little
sick.
side tangent. So usually I will see that being a blaring error that they're missing. And then from there, re-engagement, because like this takes a long time. So you want to get set up soon. Traditional re-engagement strategies need to be sent like really slowly so they don't send the entire account into spam. And the formula I've found that works the best is for every 20,000 sends you do as a daily broadcast, you can send about 2 to 500 a day as a re-engagement with the same domain and IP. Across the board, for a lot of clients, I get anywhere from 8% to 36%. And this has been a test across a lot of niches and over large segments of at least 100,000 people. And so the average I get is like 18%. And so it used to take a while to re-engage some of these lists. Like if they're larger, like
Yeah.
millions, like some of these top coaches in the space, then it would take like a year or two. However, I'm creating a strategy now that it can be done in a very short amount of time, a matter of a few months. And so that's a secret right now for now. But those are two things. It's better off to give you some general principles. More often than not, you're going to make more money adding something instead of tweaking something as far as like your email workflows, unless there's a blaring error or like there's a deliverability error, obviously.
Well, dude, actually, there's a lot of clients that fall in that category. Like, I think there's a lot of people that fall in the category of like, if you are at the level, if you're doing 500, $1 million a year plus, actually small tweaks, like this, like you're saying, like the follow-up sequence for the not booking a call, that can actually unlock a huge amount of revenue. I also know everyone's sure, like so many people right now struggle with deliverability. And once they start doing the DMARC and DKIM, like it's heck mumbo jumbo. People don't understand, and ignoring it doesn't help solve the problem. So it has to get done some way. So I think both of those things that you touched on are actually enormous if people are not doing them right now. But yeah, please continue.
Oh yeah, exactly. So like I have seen accounts get to ridiculously high heights, like 8 figures, without having some of the basics set up. So it is important to touch upon that
Yeah,
as far as DNS and deliverability. So that is the biggest sledgehammer we can swing on this. But yeah, the rest of my sequence is basically dialing in all the automations. Another really cool way to do it is if you have a front end webinar, you can send emails based off of the engagement with the webinar. So like for people that register and that's all they do, you can send a specific workflow starting at the top of the sales process and getting them to show up to the webinar or to watch a replay. If they
yeah,
show up, but they don't see the call to action, you don't know where they left, if it's before like this other price or the CTA, then you can start at the top of the sales process and also send a replay and not just get them to register. This is like the next step, a little bit warmer. And then if they actually see the CTA, you can go directly, for the jugular, as Russell Brunson calls it, and go deeper into objection handling. And from there, because they've already been sold, they already believe it's true. You just need to figure out why they didn't buy on the spot. And then, of course, scarcity and urgency, and then a hint of ethical fear, as Russell calls it. And there's a specific way to do ethical fear that's 100% compliant. And then from there, you have the abandoned cart. So like they actually show up to the product page, and then you're just even going deeper because this is the hottest lead you can possibly get. And so these sequences need to be beefy, like when you're cranking large numbers, like tens of millions. So like mine are like 17 emails long personally,
yeah,
but
that's
I
sick.
wouldn't do that if you
Yeah.
don't know deliverability because it can crash and burn you too.
So people come in, and you have basically what automations need to be set up. Like you've seen probably every info funnel under the sun, and you know where to tweak, what emails to put in. Your company will come in and write those automations. You'll make sure that things deliverability is good. If you need to reactivate a list, you're sick, you had a reactivation strategy. One thing we haven't talked about yet is I'm curious about broadcast strategy. You talked about maybe like booking calls, but I'm curious what you have to say about regular broadcast strategy and/or potentially product launches, because that's another very popular thing people need a lot of email help with, both from email but also like strategy. So I'm curious about broadcast strategy as well.
Yeah, so the first questions I have for people are like, when was the last time you ran a promo to buyers? And then also, what segment are you using? So a lot of people don't segment properly, especially if they're using a CRM or ESP like HubSpot, because it has a box when you're sending the email where you can check it and it only sends to people they deem as engaged. And they're just protecting their IPs and they're trying to make sure their stats are high so that they look good. But they don't care about your leads being burned that you paid precious money for and not ever sending to them and then building your re-engagement list really higher. So I'll step in for a lot of HubSpot clients to then remedy this issue. So instead of using the preset version, you want to create your own segment. Also, you want a mix of clickers in there, not just openers. I've had lists before. I don't take on that many spam jobs, but and sometimes I do, and I've done a ton in the past. But what I've seen work really well is like try scaling your clickers as high as possible first, because then you can get your click through rates up to like 6% from 1% without hurting the open rate at all. And then so you can start sending to a lot more people this way and claw your way out of spam. But spam's the
So yeah,
trickiest.
I guess when you're dealing with accounts that have like larger numbers, if you have like a lot of email contacts, like you know exactly what metrics you're looking for to get the deliverability and engagement up. Yeah.
Exactly. So like this is the tech stuff, like first, like the tech is the biggest swing at things. And then you have the strategy, then you have the copy. So like the strategy would be what copy angles have been tested. Like if we're going in blind or it's a new list, the best, not brand new, but the best, a really good thing to do is to do a fence tipper email. So like see how many people are actively interested and see how good the last person did as far as like nurturing them and making them want to buy. And then after that, like most email marketers are really good at like plugging social proof and like selling the dream and building hype, which is the emotional part of the sales cycle, but they're not diving deep into the weeds on like the logic closing. And so a big portion of the list that thinks logically isn't being closed. And so you start testing those angles next, and then you start to get your thumb on the pulse of the collective like audience and like what they're collectively thinking and feeling so that you can plug the right email at the right time. And also testing copy styles. So like you build upon all the data you have from the past and then start iterating and tweaking from there, like with a control. And then that's how you really push things to new heights.
That's sick, dude. Actually, that was like one of the best parts of this interview so far, I think. Like that process that you have, um, that's sick. I think that's like probably how why you've been so successful, why you're able to crank the numbers that you do. Um, I'm curious. So if somebody wants to get started with you or they're thinking about it, can you walk them through what's the process? Did they apply on your website? And then post application, what does what does your service process kind of look like?
Yeah, exactly. So you can just go to facebook.com/Christian the copywriter or Instagram.com/Christian the copywriter. You can also look at some of my content and case studies and social proof and story highlights. And then from there, we can chat back and forth a bit. And then if we're potentially a good fit, we can book a call and I can help identify some lowest hanging fruits for you. And then from there, what we do is it's just like paid up front. And yeah, from there, we just do an onboarding doc and then we get started. And we have like some key KPIs that we want to perform on. And everything's month to month because I'm a big believer that if you're actually good in the email game, you shouldn't be locking people into a contract to make them feel stuck. Like everything should be month to month. And I work with some of the biggest people in the game. And to be frank, I'm playing King of the Hill. Like thousands of people are applying. I'm just like beating them down. So you like it helps you be the best too, because you actually have to know your shit and be the best in order to keep big clients.
That's sick, dude. And I imagine that you work with basically, and no matter what system people are on, Active Campaign, HubSpot, you've worked with almost all of them. Is that correct?
Yeah, of course. I've worked with all of them. And then once you learn some of the core basic ones like Active Campaign, you can use a lot of them as well. And then the only ones that vary from there are like Zoho, Entreport, Maripost, and even then there's like lots of tips and tricks to make those function the same way too. It's just, yeah, you want to have someone that has used your service before or at least use something similar. And so Attentive for ecom, yeah, I've used all of them, dozens.
That's sick, dude. Okay, cool. Well, anything else that you want to add before we hop off of here?
Yeah, just like one thing, one of the biggest problems I see is that companies will be trying to save a dime and they'll also be thinking that they're doing the best thing by hiring a W-2 employee to do this. And the problem with that is they haven't seen the back ends of lots of different accounts. and they're not able to like learn from that and able to improve. And also they're viewing it more as a job sometimes. And so they can get a bit more complacent. They're not actually like, month to month. It's like, hey, we might let you go in a month and feel that way every single month of your life. Like that hits way different. And like it puts your money where your mouth is. And so that's the biggest thing. Also hiring agencies where the owner isn't involved. Like I'm personally involved with all my clients and I oversee everything and like everything goes through my eyes before it reaches any of my clients. And so that's also really important. There's a lot of gurus out there starting courses and stuff, and then they just like stop doing client work or just like only have their team do it. And it's just, yeah, that's how you lose your edge and you're not seeing what's working in the market now and becoming the best marketer you can be.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. I see there's a lot of people out there that are doing, they're doing email or they're doing SMS, but when you actually look at it, the amount of money that they're leaving on the table by like missing out on the things that you touched on, like they're missing out on knowing how to do the automations correctly to maximize the funnel revenue. They're missing out on deliverability. They're missing out on strategy. They don't even know really what could be, how much money is left in that list until they hop on with a professional that's been through some of the biggest accounts in the world like you. So if anybody's watching this right now and you're wondering, I have this list, how much more could I be getting out of it? I think it'd be worth checking out Christian, hopping on a call and seeing if his trademark 17-step process, wait, is that right?
Yeah. 17-step email profit
Yeah.
formula.
Yeah, if you could hop on a call, I think you probably unlock a lot of revenue. This is one of the top guys in the game. And so yeah. Anyway, thank you, dude, for hopping on. Been very valuable. And if anybody wants to step up their email game, please hit up Christian. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Cheers.